Hey tribe, Sally here. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. Welcome back to our next Monday Milepost Mailbag. This week's episode is a little bit different, and in a good way. We're going to talk about the Quartzsite meetup, not the full recap yet, because that video is coming soon, but what it felt like bringing the online tribe into real life. We'll also touch on travel weeks versus reflection weeks, how shorts and long form videos play very different roles on this channel, and why some weeks feel quieter, even when good things are happening behind the scenes. And of course, we've got comments to get to, including a really special Airmail Shoutout that perfectly captures what this community is all about. All right, we're going to roll the intro, and then we're going to jump right into this.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes. Sally forth, no need for goodbyes. Journey calls, let's roll the dice. Every mile a new surprise.
And we're back. Before we jump into the comments, though, I want to take just a minute to set the frame for this week, because it really was kind of a different kind of week. We had an awful lot going on between breaking camp, moving for the meetup, preparing for the meetup, actually doing the meetup, breaking camp again, coming back to where we were camped previously in La Posa South, and then heading over to the Big Ten event for my first time ever, spending some time with friends at Outback Pizza on Sunday, wrapping it up with some quiet, focused time at home working through some sourdough experiments. Man, can't wait to share that with you. This week was kind of full, but it's full in a doing way, not in a sitting and reflecting way. And I've noticed over time that there's a real difference between travel weeks and reflection weeks on this channel, and in life. Travel weeks tend to be outward facing. There's a lot of movement, logistics, experiences, moments that happen quickly. Reflection weeks are quieter. They're more conversational, and they often invite more back and forth in the comments as well. Neither's better. They just serve different purposes. The same thing shows up when you look at shorts versus long-form videos. For many months, I had skipped doing shorts entirely, but I did put a few out this week because I wasn't getting all my regular videos up. Shorts are great for discovery. They put the channel in front of new people, sometimes along with much larger creators, but they don't always generate a lot of comments. Long-form videos, sorry, somebody just drove right by my door. Long-form videos, and especially the mailbag, are where conversation deepens and community shows up more visibly. So if this week feels a little different, that's why. Nothing's wrong, it's just a different rhythm. And with that said, let's get into your comments, starting with the video Desert Navigation Guide and Quartzsite Meetup Directions. Laura Lynn 1056 says, not able to come, with a tear-eye face. I don't know what you call that one. A sad face with a tear. You know what I mean. I know a few of you couldn't make it this time, and I just want to say, you were missed, and you were absolutely felt. There'll be other chances, and this community is bigger than any single moment. In fact, I'm considering doing some mini meetups along the way this travel season. I hope this gives some of you that weren't able to get a chance to get to Quartzsite the chance to get together along the way. There'll be more coming up about that later. At Kentucky Lucky 5762 says, beautiful looking at the mountains. Yeah, the desert really does have a quiet way of pulling you in, doesn't it? And I never get tired of those desert views. I love the big wide open vistas. Susan M4988 said a whole lot of things I'm summarizing here, but I'm so sad I can't make it. Please do another meetup in the West this summer. Susan, first, you made the right call getting yourself home safely. Winter pickups for RVs and unexpected issues are no joke. This isn't a missed opportunity, it's just not this time. And yes, I love the idea of another Western meetup when timing and gear line up better. I expect to be in Washington and Oregon in the early fall, so there is that possibility. Marie Taylor 2901 says, looks like the perfect spot. Yes, it was. It really was one of those, this feels right places. Dory Johnson 8343 says, we were hoping to stop by, but a fractured ankle got in the way. Yeah, Dory, I know. And I am so sorry. I get how that happens. I broke my foot last year, spent 7 weeks on crutches and in a boot, so I know exactly how fast something like that can change plans. But sending healing thoughts your way, and, you know, we never say goodbye, we say see you down the road, so hopefully sooner rather than later. From last week's mailbag, Monday Milepost episode 24, Bread, Power, and Important Meetup News. We had no nudes in our video. Sorry, guys. Grandma Judy Fab 4 says, I got so excited that I received the Airmail Shoutout. Judy, this is exactly why we do these. Your joy came right through the screen, and it meant more to me than you can know. At Gimbal Girl says, so anticipating the meetup, we'll probably need directions. It obviously worked out because Linda was there. I'm so glad you came, and I'm glad the directions helped. Deserts don't give you many street signs. It was such a pleasure to get to hang out with you for coffee the next morning as well. So very, very cool. Angela Ann says, I know you've always made me feel a part of the tribe. And again, I'm summarizing here. It was a pretty long comment, but I am actually summarizing this week because I want to keep this one relatively short. So, Angela, I want you to hear this clearly. You never need to apologize. Learning new tech later in life is brave, not easy, and you already belong here whether you click every button or not. Truly. Sandra Hughes says, good to know my 1800 watt power station will run a bread maker. Yes, it absolutely will. Fresh bread off-grid is one of life's underrated joys, and man, I'm hoping my experiment is working out. I've been filming, and I've been filming today in between working on the mailbag with you. And I'm working on a sourdough experiment start to finish in the bread maker. Yeah, can't wait to see how this works out. Barb Connor says, I'm looking forward to meeting everyone. And this comment's going to come back into the story in just a little bit. From the video, a geographical extreme in a royal dress, Rugby, North Dakota. Hans Giswit says, someday I'll get back to the Dakotas. And I say they have a way of calling you back, and I think I'm probably going to be back in the Dakotas this summer. I think I'm going to end up there. We'll see how it goes. At Dorothy Brumlow 8430 says, curious about Barb's comments toward the end. All right, quick mystery solve. We were in the Pioneer Village Museum in the general store. Barb was off camera and made a joke. I want you to think classic prank call humor. Not RV alerts. No refrigerators escaped. So we did a couple of them. The first one was, do you have Prince Albert in a can? And the answer to that is, oh, better let him out before he suffocates. And the second one was, is your refrigerator running? And I think I'm the one that did. So I think Barb did is, you have Prince Albert in a can. And I started with, is your refrigerator running? And the answer to that is, better hurry up and catch it. And Dorothy actually brought this up. She thought maybe we were having either appliance problems in one of the RVs or that we had left Kit behind and something had happened. Nope, Kit was with us. Everything was fine. We were just joking around old school. So there's that. Sandra Hughes says, nice GS. I'm going to assume that's great scenery. Let me know whether I'm right or wrong on that, Sandra. And I completely agree. From the video, we drove to Stanley, North Dakota for this one thing. The one thing. Remember the movie, what's the movie? Come on. They were cattle rustlers. Cowhands. Jack Palance, who used to be my neighbor, by the way. He used to live just down the hill from me, like on adjacent property. His property was right next to mine. Kind of funny. This is crazy. I can't think of the name of the movie. I might be aging. I might have to worry about that. Anyway, one thing. Lori Rohrer says, this is so cool. It looks yummy. Sometimes you just have to say yes to ice cream, because that was the one thing. Crafty Traveler says, thanks for the drive. Glad you came along, Lonnie. Barb Connor says, I finally got soft serve, and it was so good. Yep, mission accomplished. Lisa Roth says, yum, now I want ice cream. You're welcome. And I'm sorry. Frigo Jim says, Kit's tolerance for waiting is near zero. Yep, zero. Absolute zero. He has no tolerance for waiting. From the video, Sally Forth is live. That was on the Meetup morning that I did this. I kind of did a walkthrough when we were out walking Kit. Just to kind of show people what they were going to see coming in. Barb Connor says, I had a great time. That makes me smile every time I read it, Barb. Grandma Judy says, wish I was there. You were there in spirit, Judy. Donald Sewell says, morning. Good morning right back at you. Kentucky Lucky says, hoping you all have a great day. It really was one of those days that you tuck away. And from the short, which I also filmed at the meetup location, I think the day before actually, did you know this about Saguaros? Has, excuse me, Hans Giswit says, I need wide open spaces. And I hear that deeply, Hans. G. Gebhard 1 says, that's not a cloud. Yep, you're right. It was a contrail, not a cloud. Thanks for the correction. I'm looking up at it in the sky, and all I could think was cloud. And I knew it wasn't a cloud. It was contrail. At Refined for God says, chemtrails. In this case, just a standard aircraft contrail. Kathy Stevens says, lovely. Yes, the desert has a quiet beauty all its own. Katie Scapes says, they are very, very old. Some of them have been standing there for centuries. Always puts things into perspective, and that's part of the reason that saguaros are protected in Arizona. You can't cut them at all. You certainly can't chop them down, but you can't do anything to them because they are hundreds of years old, which could be pretty amazing. All right, now let's dive into this week's Airmail Shoutout. It's a particularly special one. This week's Airmail Shoutout goes to someone many of you recognize from the comments, but she's also someone I've had the joy of knowing both online and in real life. She shows up consistently, generously, and without being asked. This week's Airmail Shoutout goes to Barb, at Barb Connor. Before the meetup even happened, Barb had already volunteered to help however needed, including offering to take Kit back to her rig and babysit if things got too busy for him. Thankfully, we didn't need that, but that kind of readiness says a lot. And I will admit that there were several times where I just kind of picked him up and dumped him into her lap during the meetup so that I could get closer to somebody without worrying about him being upset or walk back and forth into my rig or whatever. So she's active here on the channel, a part of the tribe, and also on Patreon. And she's one of those people that quietly helps hold the whole thing together. Barb, thank you for your friendship, your support, and for being exactly the kind of community this channel is built around. And that leads perfectly into this. If you enjoy deeper conversations, more behind-the-scenes moments, and more connection beyond the comments, Patreon is where that really happens now. You can even join for free if you just want to hang out and see what it's all about. There's no pressure, just options and community. And even at the free tier, you do get some valuable freebies, including, for example, recipe cards. As always, thank you for being here today. Thank you for the comments. And keep an eye out. The meetup wrap-up video is really coming soon. I think that's all we've got for now. So thank you again, once again, for being here. We will see you next time. Bye for now.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes. Sally forth.